we'll see coaches coming into the room. Yeah, see, I got my other Zoom meeting starting here on my phone.
Jeez, man. Yeah, you got to get some Zoom ought to hire you now too, man. Get
No kidding.
Yeah.
All right, Coach. So the room is filling up here. We'll start right at the top of the hour. For coaches coming in, we appreciate you being here. You'll see that on the main page, if you want access to these past the, I think this ends April 7th. Past that, you can make a donation. There's 2 up there right now. Lauren's First and Goal, which funds pediatric brain tumor research, and then Sean Payton's foundation is up there as well. Both of those, either one, it doesn't matter, get you access to this lifetime. And we've got right now around, I believe, 140 coaches scheduled by the end of this. So a ton of content for $59. That's not too bad. Myself, I'm Keith Grabowski. I've been doing a lot of these introductions. I host the Coaching Coordinator podcast for USA Football. Coach has been on there before. If you go to my Twitter handle, it's at Coach K Grabowski. You'll see today I posted the link to this as well as the link to the podcast he was on. And we have another one upcoming. And great stories on the first one. He shared some of his background and how he got his story and how he got to Coach Leach and became part of his coaching staff. And then, you know, another really good one here. And we're excited about what he's doing in the presentation today. One last word of USA Football for the high school coach out there. Please check out our football development model. That's at usafootball.com under the resources tab. Just a great thing for you to help build your youth programs, coaching progressions, all kinds of resources. Our live, our app has gone live now on the App Store, which is a practice planner for you coaches as well. Again, check that out at usafootball.com, resources, football development model. And Coach, without further ado, Eric Mele, who is the running backs coach at Mississippi State, has done an outstanding job. His guys certainly tote the ball around, but you'll notice if you follow Coach through the years, his running backs have a ton of receptions as well. So he's going to talk to you today about simplicity in the air raid offense, both for practice and game planning. Take it away, Coach.
Hey, appreciate it. Thanks for logging on here. Thanks for the time. Got a few slides, but I want to make sure you guys fire off some questions anytime you guys want, and I'll be as transparent as I can. Got a couple little air raid secrets. I probably can't give away all of them, but today I really want to focus on talking about our practice plan and our game plan, how we go about it, how we do what we do, and why we do what we do. So without any more hesitation here, let me kind of dive into I got a mini little PowerPoint. Let's start with that. And let me make this into a presentation. All right, without offending anybody about complicating offense, you know, this is a great quote here from Richard Branson about complexity being your enemy, and any fool can make something complicated. It's hard to keep things simple. And obviously, everybody that's familiar with the air raid knows that we're kind of a keep it simple, you know, first type of deal. But, you know, we also have complex plays too. Obviously, Ace 92 is a play for us. Literally 3 symbols. AC 92. That's one play. And then also there's a complicated version of that. Ace fake Z quick 92X post F wheel. So we can be complicated like anybody else, but really the challenge for us, and especially when we game plan, is how do we pare this down going into an opponent so we can practice it properly and get all those repetitions in. Again, that's what we always focus on. How can we practice it? How do we get as efficient as possible in our offense to have answers for anything the defense throws at us? And we want to be the aggressors. We want to be the ones on the attack. We don't want the defense to dictate to us what they're going to do. We're going to do it the other way around. So just a little bit of a study here over the last 3 years, just a little bit to quantify what we do. It's not some of the stuff when you dive into it, it's not as crazy or as wild as you think when it comes to the air raid. Big ones here, like right at the top, you know, talking about the 3 and outs. We talk about it all the time. We don't want to punt. You know, Steve Gleason, #neverpunt. That's our guy. We don't want to punt. I mean, obviously nobody does. So we don't want to go 3 and out. We want to possess the football. We want to gain yards, put the ball in play, keep gaining first downs. And we were a top 5 team in the red zone as well, and top 5 in the lowest percentage with 3 and outs. And our offensive efficiency has been great. We want to get a chuckle out of here when you kind of scroll down a little bit on the page where it says 4th lowest percentage of overall plays that are third down plays. Just 23% of our plays were on third down. Best third down play is the one that you avoid. I mean, that's obvious. Stay out of third downs. But again, going back to put it in play, if it's 3rd and long and we throw let's say it's 3rd and 12 and we throw an 8-yard completion, it's 4th and 4. There's a good chance we're going to go for that thing anyhow. So to put the ball in play, get positive plays, avoid negative plays. And then a couple more little stats just to follow up on that. Our margin for error, right? That's TFLs, sacks, turnovers, all those types of things that you don't want to you don't want to give the ball back to the other team, okay, obviously. And you want the chains to keep moving forward. So if you can mitigate your bad plays to being 0-yard gain, 2-yard gain, a positive play, that's a lot better than taking a loss of yardage and putting yourself in bad situations. So shout out to the Sports Source Analytics. They do some work for us. Just kind of dialing up a bunch of our numbers to get us to where we want to go. All right. So let's talk about practice. We're talking about practice. How we practice is more important than what we practice. Okay, that's a big one. All right, the mastery through repetition. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up a practice script here, and I'm going to break it down kind of 2 different parts, and I'll kind of talk you through some of these, through some of the drills and some of the ways that we operate. Again, just some of the air raid guys know we practice a little bit shorter than most. Try and be really efficient. Try and keep it on the. Try and keep this thing moving and keep it fast. So here's just a whole picture of the script. But let me break it down to the first part first here. Let me make sure these slides are working. Everybody with me can see the slide or no?
Yeah, Coach, the slides, at least on my screen as well, and I think some others, they aren't advancing. It's still on that first one with the quote.
Okay.
We're going to try to figure out what's going on.
Let me try in a different form here. Can we see that or no?
It just changed to the second slide, whatever you did right there.
Okay. All right, so I'll just do it manually, I think, through this thing. All right, are we on the practice script right there?
Yes. Yep. Practice schedule.
Okay. All right. So here we go. Practice schedule. This is a sample practice schedule for a red zone goal line practice. Okay. So we have a red zone goal line practice, and we have a third down day. That's if you're talking in season, right, on a Tuesday, Wednesday for us. So we'll dive right into meat potatoes. On Sundays, we come in, we grade the film. We have a team meeting. Our players have a lift down in the weight room. We get together, have that team meeting, and then we head outside after we have our position meetings and the team meeting. So we go over all the corrections for that week. We want to put that game to bed. Win or lose, move forward on to the next one. So we go outside and we'll have again kind of a dynamic warm up, run through some special teams heavy practice, and then offensively. We go out there and we're going to run base plays. We're going to run through basically an open field script. And you'll see this when I get to that point. The open field script for us is going to be, about 30 plays. So we'll run through 30 plays versus the next week's opponent lined up in their base defenses. We don't talk too much to the kids about anything as far as coverage, fronts, blitz, any of that. We're just going to go ahead and line up. We have that already broken down and prepared so they kind of see what we're looking at without talking about it. So they just kind of trust their instincts and their repetitions when they go out on the field to just execute plays. The quarterback literally checks plays, open field, red zone, goal line, turn around, do third downs. So this is all on Sunday night. just introducing the opponent through this kind of fast, kind of jog through with helmets and jerseys on, that type of thing. Again, it's a Monday, it'll be the off day. Academics get a focus on that. They pop in the office. We talk some about the initial the game plan going in, and then here we go to a Tuesday practice. Okay, so Tuesday practice, we're going to start up. If you look right there, we're in that first period, or just before the first period, where it says team. It's kind of our pre-practice where we do our drills. Wide receivers working cone drills, working their footwork, sticking routes, catching balls. Tennis ball machines are set up. We have the backs and receivers, making sure they get a bunch of catches there. Settle and noose drills going on. It's an old air raid staple. Garbage cans or pop-ups are set up. And guys are running to each pop-up, sticking a foot in the ground, turning back to the quarterback at any point he wants to. Quarterback's going to throw him to a certain shoulder away from coverage. He's going to tuck the ball, turn up that side of the field, and noose his hands and eyes as he catches it and head up the field. All right, so that drill is going on. We'll get together. The O-line is doing their jump roping. They're doing their technique. They're doing footwork. We'll get together now with those guys, come together, and we'll do our run checks for that week. And obviously, we have a kind of a smaller sample on the run game of our menu of plays, but some of those plays will morph. Our inside zone play turns into a mid zone play based on the front. Draw. We have some gap scheme as well. So we'll go through those. Quarterback is checking the best runs based on the box and the leverage. And after that, we'll go to our blitz pickup versus the defensive scout team. Okay, so they're out there. They're running through those top blitzes of our opponent for that week in blitz pickup. So we'll do that, and then we'll run through some plays of the day. So even us in the air raid will have a few tweaks, a few special plays for that opponent. We'll make sure we hit those. You get a couple extra reps in here doing that, and then practice starts off. Bull in the ring, which always gets the guys going, brings some energy to practice. And then from there, we split up. O-line starts doing some individual work. And then we're into pat and go. All right, again, another air raid staple drill. The pat and go drill is, we'll start, it's kind of a warm-up drill, so there's not a stretching period in practice. This is kind of how they're starting to loosen themselves up, about a half speed to three-quarter speed, starting to really get the blood flowing. Slants first. So they go slants, and then we work them through our fades. Big coaching point on the fades is to save all that space for the quarterback, save those 7 yards of space for the quarterback. So run, hold the top of the numbers, let the quarterback fade you open, catch your ball over your outside shoulder. Okay, don't turn back and expose the ball to the defender. And we're just kind of working through that. So that's pat and go drill. For the backs at this point, we'll sometimes use that drill as a pass protection individual drill for us. But also times we'll jump in there as well. There's some routes, obviously a wheel downfield that we'll be utilizing that. But this is a good chance for the RBs and an air raid practice schedule to steal some Indy time during pat and go, because we'll run that. It's a daily drill for the offense. So you can get in there once or twice a week, and the other couple times a week, you can use that for Indy work. Okay. Period 2 is quick game. So that's 3-step drop, pass game. There'll be 4 quarterbacks in that drill. All the receivers are going. And we're just working half sides of our concepts. So, for example, you have, stick play. You have your Y or your H is run the stick route, and you have your outside guys run the vertical, and you have the back shooting out into the flat. So we'll have sometimes, same thing. We'll add those 2 other quarterbacks back into the drill and throw to the backs if the backs are there. Another time, backs will split off on their own and get some more Indy work in. But we're throwing quick game concepts. Balls out of their hands, catch, throw, catch, throw. And we're kind of running through the menu there. Routes on air, or bandit drill, the old school bandit drill. Okay, it's kind of that kind of starts from here, and then we start going up and down the field with it. But routes on air will be the one with the garbage cans or your pop-ups out on the field. It's your drop back pass game. We have 5 quarterbacks going. 5 quarterbacks. You have your 4 receivers in the back or 2 backs, depending on the personnel, 10 or 20 personnel. Even here at Mississippi State, we'll actually start using some tight end, which might shock some of you out there. But we got some good ones, so we're going to utilize them. So routes on air, for example, if we took 95 Y cross, okay, Y cross is a staple air raid play. They have vertical route from number 1, and number 2 is running an out route. Number 3 is running the cross under Sam over Mike, and Z is running a post dig. Okay, and he's sitting it down if it comes to space and backs out in the flat. So all 5 quarterbacks can go through. We'll go through the reads. And the ball should come out on time. X, H, Y, Z, and then F to the back. All right, so all 5 in a row. So we should see the timing. We should see the reads, and guys are really working on their skills. And so it's kind of like a scale on a stagnant defense. We'll move the bags around to give them a different look. 2 high safeties, 1 high, and go from there. Next part is team screens, and we'll run this only on a red zone on a Tuesday practice. All right, so this will be actually on a 3rd down day. We'll do team screens and just run through. We'll have anywhere from 10 to 15 screens on a script for that week. So we'll run through all of our screens, again, various looks, fast tempo, getting the ball out, and making sure, the DBs or the receivers are blocking the DBs on quick screens on the outside perimeter. And then obviously the line are working all their skills and techniques on screens as well. All right, so team screen period, and we'll get you into the one-on-ones versus the DBs, or block it up drill. Okay, and this is a chance for the defense really to work on block destruction. So we'll have actually 3 guys out there on offense, 2 on defense, and they're trying to shed blocks, and we're trying to either cross block or base block, and kind of read off of that. And it's really to drill for, it's kind of a tough guy drill for those edge guys. All right, while that's going on, the quarterbacks, when they're finished with that, we'll have about 2-3 minutes left and go to releases. Releases is basically a chance for the receivers and DBs to work. He's getting about half speed, technique, stacking the DB. DB is working his hands and press jam on them. And while that's going on, the QBs and running backs are working their mesh, the handoffs, any screens to the running back, any game there. All right, so that's part of the first 5 periods of the practice there. We're not a slave to the minutes. It says 10 minutes a period there. Obviously, if you don't get our work done, we need to get a couple extra reps. We'll get a couple extra reps in. We'll just push it. And if we end a little bit early, we'll blow it up. If we got to wait in the D, we'll just wait, and we'll get some extra indie work in. But biggest thing there is playing fast from drill to drill. Not a lot of walking around. All right, guys are bouncing around, and get your work done, get in there, and move on to the next one. So let me pull up the next slide here for you guys. It'll be the second part of this. Okay. And this is period 6 through 10. All right, this is the second back half of this. All right, so now we have special teams period in period 6, and the quarterbacks are doing their drills. There's a great DVD floating around. It's probably on the internet too as well now. We can just get a YouTube video. Coach Leach running Kentucky quarterback drills with Tim Couch with knee-high socks on. Real awkward, but really really beneficial. We use a lot of those same drills still now. Shuffle drill and bucket drill, everything that just applies to our offense. One thing about the drill work that we talk about quite a bit is, have drills that are relevant to what you guys do in a game. All right, we don't need to have a drill set up that's has a million cones out there and guys are doing pirouettes and standing on their head. All right, it's got to be something that actually applies. Speaking just to RBs for a quick second, that type of thing. We'll do a drill where there's 2 or 3 cones out there and guys are having high knees or sticking their foot in the ground, low pads, and we're finishing on me on a move at the end. That's something they would do in a game. So we're not going to do a bunch of stuff where they're running around in a star drill or that type of thing. So make the drills relevant. They don't have to be super sophisticated. Let's just work on the fundamentals, the repetitions over and over again. Get really good with what their technique is and what they do. Okay. Pascal. So here's Pascal. So this is the spring schedule, about 40 reps in Pascal. And that'll be a red zone goal line period. So that's the emphasis for the day. If it's 3rd down, then we work 3rd downs. We'll go 3rd and long, 3rd and medium, 3rd and short. We keep score of that against the defense. and just keep rotating through the third, long, medium, and short, all right, until we get through the 40 reps. So we'll have 2 quarterbacks go, and we'll have a second scale period. Second scale will be the other field with our younger quarterbacks, and they'll get their 40 reps in too. So even on that field, we'll probably get 3 quarterbacks into the mix. We'll play 5 to 6 guys. We'll get reps in scale during the spring here coming up. Second period, second special teams period, and then follow it up with a team period. Again, the red zone goal line emphasis, be 36 reps of that. Again, 2 quarterbacks going, and again, red zone goal line emphasis. So then when that's finished, okay, we made it through the first 9 periods here. We'll go to an avoid drill with the defense. Ball carriers, defenders, all just working on a small space, about 5 yards of width by about 10 yards. They start with their backs turned to each other, pop up, standing up. And it's not a tackle drill. It's not a take to the ground drill. Offensive guys are trying to get the defender head up, stem him one way or the other, slip past there, break a tackle. So they're trying to really weak hip that guy. The defenders are trying to obviously close the space down and then tag off on us. Good form from them, good defensive form from them. So that's a good drill. Just kind of finishes up practice for us, 2 reps per skill guy. And then we get into just the end of workout, post-practice. After we kind of break down the team, we have a ball security drill. There's 3 drills set up. Every offensive skill player goes through it. Sideline drill, kind of self-explanatory. They're running down the sideline. We're trying to knock them out of bounds with a bag, and they're going to cut back on the last defender. Forward lean, balls their feet, and they're trying to lean in for contact and fight for those extra yards. So cut back on the last defender, try and go score a touchdown. The comeback drill, very similar to settle and noose. So those guys will have the quarterbacks just soft tossing balls. They'll come up, they'll work back down their stem, they'll catch, tuck, turn up the field. They'll have a gauntlet full of bags on both sides. They're running through, exploding through there with low pads. Again, finishing on a coach. And then our stick and shave drill, just like that avoid drill, you're trying to weak hip. So you're just working, getting the defender head up, stemming, making cuts one way or the other. And that's their finish for the offensive guys. Snaps and fades is centers and quarterbacks working together. And we're working that goal line fade, which has always been a good staple of the offense. So we get a bunch of work in there for that. And then we'll go to kind of the next piece here. So that's really the practice schedule of what we're looking at. So any questions there, feel free to fire away, and then we'll pull up the next piece, which is more of the game plan now. All right, do we have that game plan slide up there? Is that what we're looking at? Okay. Game plan oversimplified on the game plan here is, it's basically put it in play. Okay, first downs equals touchdowns, avoid negative plays, and third downs that we talked about earlier, and obviously to score points. All right, to do us, basically it's about possessing the ball. Okay, hold on to the football. If you do that, then you're moving the ball up and down the field. Okay, and that's kind of staple rules for the quarterback. This is what we're talking about to the quarterback all the time. All right, first down. What's the best play to get us the most yards on first down? He comes out, analyzes the box, run pass, and we're moving the ball down the field. Okay, we want to avoid those negative plays, sacks, TFLs, obviously a turnover, anything like that, and then stay out of third downs. Let's try and get a first down on 2 downs. So be aggressive, be the attacker, and then again on third down, third and long, take what they give you, and this way we have a chance to go for on fourth down. And finally, when you get into the red zone there, we got to come away with points. Again, we're on the attack, and we want to score. So a little brief just kind of oversimplification of that. And I'm going to get into just what our practice or our game call script looks like. That little piece of origami that Coach Leach has kind of folded up on the sideline that nobody knows what it is. So let's pull that up. Okay, so I think that's on here. All right, so here's a sample script. I'm going to break this down too. I'll get you a smaller screen this here in a second, but this is just one piece of paper. It's it's folded up into about 4 different sections. But the open field, the screens are up there just as a reminder of what screens we have in the game plan for the week. They'll be listed over in the open field as part of our script. 3rd and long, 3rd and short. All right, 3rd and medium. If the team dictates that, we'll have a 3rd and medium script. Red zone, goal line, special plays. We'll have a few of those that we practice throughout the year, where it may be a base play that we can't fit in that we'll just keep on our menu just in case there's a tweak that we want to utilize. And with that piece, we'll talk about that here in a second. What I mean by having a base play as a special play, or 2-point plays in an end of game situation. So let me find you the next slide where we can kind of talk through it a little slower. All right, so this is the top half of the script. All right, top half of our sample script here. Open field, 30 plays. That's what we go into a game with. Then it could be anywhere from 28 to about 34 plays. And we've got a little formula that we utilize for those 30. But basically, we are going to have a distribution of our sets, our personnel, the drop back, the quick game, the runs, the screens. All right, all of that. So you don't want to stack a bunch of those plays together. It's got to be some kind of a distribution there where you're keeping the defense on their heels. All right, it's not all 5 drop back pass in a row, that type of thing. So pretty straightforward there. And then obviously some of those plays are going to set other plays up. Number 4 might set up number 14. So that's one thing we'll look for up top in the box is plays to come back to. Whether you hit it or you didn't hit it and it was open, you come back to that play. So we'll basically line up those open field plays, like I said, and into that little equation that we come up with. And then 3rd and long, 3rd and short, a lot of times those could be similar plays that are in the open field, but with a tag or a motion on there. And that's kind of how the offense evolves from base to a little more difficult. All right. So again, Y cross can be run several different ways. So basically on a Sunday or a Monday, actually when we game plan Monday night as an offensive staff, Monday, all the offensive coaches will kind of go to their office on their own and they'll work on their game plan. They'll work on this whole script that we have and the best plays versus the opponent that we're going to play that week. So we don't want to do it all together initially just to not have a herd mentality or guys trying to convince guys of certain plays. Not yet, at least. Okay, so we'll come up with a script, our 10 best open field plays, best screens, our 3rd down menu, the red zone goal line menu, each coach individually. And then we get together on Monday night. That's when we'll kind of have it out, all right? So everybody gets a different color, a dry erase, hop on the board, your plays get drawn up on the board, and then we start discussing, all right? So again, the air raid, there's an X amount of concepts, which is probably a lot fewer than most. And now we have those concepts on the board. They don't change. That's every week those same plays are in play, but how are we going to run those plays? So again, just stick with Y cross. 1 week, for example, let's just say somebody likes it out of 2x2. Somebody likes it out of 3x1. Somebody wants motion. Somebody likes to have empty. Somebody wants to motion a different guy. Somebody wants to send it back from the backfield to empty. We can come up with as many different versions as we want of Y cross, but we can only practice, 2 to 3 versions of that going into a game week to make sure that we're getting, right, a minimum would be 4 reps. Let's just keep it at 4 reps. A minimum of 4 reps in a practice of a play, so it becomes a habit, all right? So it becomes routine, second nature, instinct when we go out there on the field versus the defense. So no matter what they're in on defense, we're going to have an answer for it of that play. All right. So that'll be the biggest challenge for us. So we go on the board, everybody draws up their concepts through the whole script. And now it's how do we pare this thing down? There could be as much as 90 plays on the whiteboard, and we have to pare it down to 30 plays. So that's where the fun conversations and communication come out. and great, a lot of good one-liners from coach, just talking about what play we're going to keep, what we're not going to keep. But, we're talking about, the video evidence. What'd you watch on film? What'd you see? What are they doing versus this formation? Are they trying to take this away, et cetera, et cetera? And then that's how we pare the plays down. So, again, we have probably somewhere in the neighborhood of, 20 concepts. So when you talk about that, I mean, you're going to recall every of your best version of every play, and then you're going to add the runs in, the screens, and all of that. So it doesn't give you much more than, say, 30 plays in the field. I mean, in a game, if you run 75, 80 plays, you're only going to run a play 2-3 times. All right, so those are some of the things that we look at kind of going into it. So the schedule for the coaches during quick question here from Coach Peterson. What is the schedule for coaches during the week in season? All right, so as we're kind of talking through this sample script, that's our Monday night. All right, so Saturday's the game. Celebrate the win afterwards, and then Sunday we come in. You have time to kind of go to church or hang out with the family breakfast and do that. And Coach Leach is better than probably anybody in America when it comes to hours and quality of life in that regard. He's got a good balance between that, and he wants us energized and fresh coming to the office every day. But the first couple of days of the week will be the longer days. So Sunday, then we have our film graded for that 4:00 meeting, and then we have practice on Sunday night, like we discussed earlier. And then after that practice, you can start diving into the film a little bit and getting ready to go for the next opponent. All right. So Monday is the big game plan day. Monday, you're in the office and you're pouring through all the film, all the cut ups, all the games of the next opponent, and you're putting together your game plan. So we're doing that. A lot of times we'll kind of sneak out for dinner with the fam and come back, because we won't start meeting. Coach Leach will watch every stitch of film, every game, every cut up that we have, the way he has it organized. And then we'll meet somewhere in the neighborhood of like 9 or 10 o'clock on a Monday night. And, you'll go for 3-4 hours sometimes. So there's times you're getting out there at, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. Come back on Tuesday kind of regular day where, again, we're lucky enough to kind of drop our kids at school in the mornings and, get in the office a little bit before 9 and start the day there. Special teams meetings, usually around 10:30. And then work our way into after lunch would be position meetings, special teams meeting with the group, and then head out to practice. And then we watch practice every day right afterwards. So after practice is over, we go up as an offensive staff and we go through the whole practice. So everybody's watching O-line one-on-ones. They're watching one-on-one wide receiver DBs. We're watching all of it. So do that as a staff, get all our corrections done, and then kind of repeat the process Tuesday, Wednesday, and then get into Thursday would be our special teams emphasis. We're in the stadium. There's crowd noise getting pumped in, and we're going through that whole scenario there on Thursday, and going up and down the field, bandit drill with the offense, and we're moving the ball, running through the script. So after Thursday, we go home right after Thursday. Have dinner with the family, and do that. And then Friday, again, a little bit later of a day for us to come in, just depending on if you have all your stuff knocked out for the weekend. We'll have a meeting, chapel talk, then we'll have a special teams meeting, get into position meetings, and then go on the field, dynamic warm-up. We do about 15 plays on a Friday, offense versus defense, 7-on-7, tag off, just kind of up tempo, get a light sweat going, and then we'll run through our blitz pickup. We'll run through a couple little drill work just to keep the blood flowing. So that's on that Friday, and then Friday from there that kind of starts our routine. We're going to the hotel. Coaches all stay at the hotel. We go watch the movies, go to the movies together as a team, and then Saturday's game day, and then kind of repeat the process. But appreciate the question there. So sample script, got to the first top of that. Let me dive into the second piece. Okay, so then there's the red zone, goal line, special plays, 2-point plays, end of game. So this is the bottom half. Again, it's only one page, all right? The whole entire script that is going into a game. It's only one page on there. So here's what we have. Here's what we're looking at. 10 plays in the red zone, 5 on the goal line. Again, the distribution, piece is probably one of the biggest things for us going into against an opponent here. The 5 goal line plays, we want to have a 10 personnel. We want to have a 20 personnel. We'll even see some 11 this year out of us. Sometimes you'll even see a 21 package. We kind of rolled that out a couple times last season, and then if there's particular things you want to put. So a lot of times these plays, like in the goal line, could be in the open field, but they don't have a particular tag on them, or they don't have a particular motion, or we're personnel somebody, or there's some kind of nuance to it. And then in the red zone, same thing. All right, same thing there in the red zone. Now, we talk about red zone. One of the big discussions we always have is when is the defense change? When does the red zone actually become the red zone? Some teams further out, 25-yard line or 30, they may even change their defense when they get to that area of the field. And we're not going to call it a bunch of different areas. We'll just call it when they change. When they first change, that's when we have to start looking at our different menu for us. And some are closer, obviously. So whenever the defense starts playing something differently, that's when we'll worry about calling our plays a little bit differently, but it still doesn't change what we do fundamentally as an offense and our concepts and our philosophy. That's the red zone goal line. Special plays, all right, which I alluded to earlier. So we talked about 95 or Y cross. We're not having an X amount of Y cross plays in a game plan. All right. So if there's 4 versions of Y cross that we liked and we only got 2 into the game plan, we might have a version of Y cross in special plays. So it might be one that we just don't practice as much during the week, but we know going against this opponent, for hitting it, the other ones, we might call on this play because it's going to give us something, that we like as well, that we can't just we can't practice it enough. So here it is in special plays, and then our 2-point plays, we got about 3 of those. You don't roll out all 3 every year, but you got to have three plays that you don't see as often. There's some of our best stuff that's sitting right there, and then our end of game plays, which would be obviously the victory, the kneel down, any clock killing plays, and plays to try and either chew clock, get a first down, stay in bounds, all those types of rules that you go over for that. So again, I'll just pull it back up to here's what the main kind of screen looks like on that. All right. So another quick question here about keeping the tight ends. All right. So we've got, I guess, 3-4 tight ends on our roster currently. Excited to use those guys. One guy I think will move outside. He's about 6'4", 230. And the question is, will they be guys that primarily moved around as our line of scrimmage guys, off the ball H guys, or will they move around? So yeah, I think the thing there is we've been kind of known now for having like the shorter, shiftier, fast guys kind of as the inside positions. But it's just a matter of who you have there and if you have matchups, right? So a big tight end is going to give you a good matchup, okay? On a linebacker, you can box him out in the red zone goal line. If he gets a guy that's obviously smaller than him like that, he can do that. But we'll attach a tight end. We'll attach a tight end just to create an extra gap for the defense. Any defensive coaches out there, I'm sure you can attest to that. They know that when a tight end lines up, now there are extra gaps that they have to account for that, right? They have to be gap sound. So that creates a problem just by alignment. We can still run our same offense out of it. So we'll mess around with him being, down, tight next to the tackle. He'll split out. He'll kind of do all of it. So it'll be a nice wrinkle that we haven't utilized too much in the past. But when you got good guys, good big bodies that can run, we'd be silly not to kind of to try that out. So next question here too: when do you practice 4-minute, or how do you practice it? And yeah, it's a good question. You always want to still try and score touchdowns, try and move the ball, try and get first downs. That goes back to our initial philosophy. All right. So when you practice 4-minute, we're just going out there trying to have positive plays and and keeping the ball in bounds. It's not gonna. We won't get more conservative in our play calling. That's kind of answers this question a little bit. We're gonna keep throwing the football if that's what the defense is dictating for us to do. So again, when the quarterback comes out there and he sees a light box, he's gonna run it. We like to err on the side a little bit of running it there, just to kind of keep the clock moving. But we're probably a little bit closer to more towards that 2-minute mark of really trying to ice the game away. At 4 minutes, we're running the offense. When we get down to, and I'm actually, I'm up top looking at the sheet, and we got, everybody's got their own card up there with 2-0, whatever you equated it to. How can we kill the rest of this game? All right, but it's going to take you to somewhere around that 2.5-minute mark before you really have that discussion for us. Okay, a good question there. Do we game plan the amount of touches for players, or does it just happen depending on plays? So we keep track of that. All right, that's something we keep track at. Let me just go ahead and stop the screen and go back to this. So we keep track of that from up top in the box. All right, so we have our skill positions listed, and we're talking about check marks on attempts or actual catches, handoffs, any of it. All right, so we got to make sure the ball is getting distributed evenly among the 5 skill guys. Typically, in a given year, the running back would be one of the higher touches guys, just because the run and pass, and then for the outside receivers, they'll be pretty heavy too. Those are some of our bigger play guys. They turn up a bunch of yardage for us. The inside guys would be a little, maybe a little less. Why is a big time player for us typically as far as receivers go in the offense. So not necessarily game plan or script plays, but we just know that there's certain plays we think a guy will get open, and that is just a kind of a game flow thing. All right, so how do we want to get this guy the ball? What are the best plays to get him the ball? And we'll call those plays. But for the most part, our plays are built to throw to the open guy. All right, again, sticking with the Y cross, one more time. X is out there. Your number one receiver's out there. Let's say we're in a 2-by-2 formation. Number one receiver is lined up and he's got press coverage. Okay, he's running a vertical route. First thing the quarterback's going to do is take a peek at him. If he likes it, thinks he's going to win over the top, all right, he lets it fly. If he doesn't, he moves on to number 2. Number 2 is running a 10-yard out. Okay, now the out, same thing. If the corner turns his shoulders and runs with a vertical route, the guy's shot on the out route. All right, but if he's covered up and say the corner sinks, the safety gets over the top, now you move off of H, and here comes Y in a big dead spot. If Y is getting double teamed or they're focusing on Y, we move to Z. Okay, Z now is a guy that can sit in a hole, or he can keep running. He runs the post dig, his man coverage. He just keeps coming right to the quarterback's vision. And then if not, he just sits and curls back in the little hole there, and you got an easy completion. The back is out in the flat, number 5, and is the read. If he gets into trouble and it's blitz, he knows he's got the back out there with a bunch of clear out routes from that side of the field. So it's a one-on-one out in space. So that's a reason why we don't say, okay, get the ball to this guy, get the ball to that guy. We'll call plays we think can get to guys we want to get the ball to, but for the most part, our plays are built to throw it to the open guy or give it to the open person. Okay. How do you script personnel in certain formations with that script? Yeah, so let me go back to the script page here. All right, so if it was, let me see here. Okay. Let me share my screen. All right, going back to the script here. Okay, going back to the sample script. All right, so for personnel and formation, so here what we just do is, for example, so let's just say number 3 was a play where you wanted number 21 on the third play. We'll put a number 21 off here after the play is listed. So let's just say the play said Y cross. We'd put 21 there. All right, so when you call it and you call that play, it would just kind of flow off there too. Hey, whatever the formation is, Y cross, 21, go, 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 and he goes running to the game. We just kind of list those guys here, and then the packages, the personnel packages, they'll be listed here in the play, in the call. All right. So, 20 personnel, and we'll have a few slashes. Okay. So the first thing is the quarterback's evaluating the run box. So not necessarily we'll have a run listed first. We might put it last year just to give a secondary emphasis that this is a good formation against these guys to run the ball, but it will say something like Y cross slash stick, our version of Y stick slash run. All right. And then it might have a guy's number on the back side of it. But again, we roll out so many guys. We've had 10 receivers catch 20 plus balls for the last, 5 or 6 years in a row. So you want to keep your guys fresh, and you want to keep rolling through those guys. Okay. For a high school team, would you recommend flipping the X and Z or locking in the Y and X to stay on the same side? And what position do you put your best wide receiver at? Okay, yeah, good question. For us, our X and Z, just like the old Colts, Raymond Berry, Johnny Unitas, okay, one side of the field for X and Z. Those guys just run the same routes from the same side of the field all the time and just get really, really good at it. And you can kind of recruit to that personnel then a little more specifically. X for us needs to be a guy who can blow the top off the coverage. He's a vertical threat, a guy who can get downfield. The Z, you want him to do that too, but he doesn't have to be quite as fast, maybe a little craftier, a little more diverse in his route tree and his route running. And then our Y is always our inside receiver. So when we come out in trips, Y is always number 3 for us. The Y has got to be one of your better players on the field. He's crafty. He can read defenses on the run. He can do all of that. So he's a guy I would start with. Probably Y or Z would probably be the 2 guys where I'd put my best player, Y or Z. Again, X is a burner, blows the top off of H is similar to Y, but maybe not as many reads or balls come his way. Z was where Michael Crabtree played for at Tech in the last couple of years for us. Our Y, River Craycraft, Brandon Arconato last year had 600-yard games in a row type of thing. The Y is the guys who can get a bunch of looks, but he's got to be able to do all of that. All right. Okay, next question. Game day, roll on game day. My particular role is I'm up in the box. I'm talking to our O-line coach. We're talking about protections. We're talking about blitz, best run game. I'm talking to, and that's Mason Miller, is our guy on the field, our O-line coach. I'm talking to Coach Spurrier, who's next to me, who's on with Coach Leach as well. And those guys are talking through the pass game, the quarterback's reads. And then I have the kind of the clock management and the game scenarios is one of my duties as well. So I just kind of feed information to Coach Spurrier. I'm talking to Coach Miller on the field, and then when my guys score a touchdown, get him on the phone downstairs and hoot and holler from up top. But that's kind of my role there. Coach Dreyer is asking, during team and practice, can your quarterback check in 7-on-7 and team periods? Do you ever say no checks during this period for tempo and efficiency of practice? Yeah, so we'll run through the script pretty much for the most part, especially against the scouts, okay? So we're in a game week and we have a scout defense out there. We're going to run the plays that are called, okay? When we play against our defense, which is usually 5 plays in 7-on-7, 5 plays in team, first 5, we call any play you want, all right? So again, because it's a defense we're probably not going to see that week anyway. We just want to get familiar with or back to what we do, which is analyze the defense, call the best play to attack the defense. So we do that for 5 plays in 7-on-7, 5 plays in team. We do have a 4 vertical practice day, okay? And that's one, something you got to look at. We have a 3-day install. I'm sure everybody's heard this one quite a bit. So offense goes in 3 days. 1/3 of the runs, screens, quick game and drop back, middle third, and last third, okay? So there's your 3 days. So the offense goes in 3 days. We do have a 6-day, 4 vertical day, okay? So we're scoring touchdowns on 4 verticals. That day is we want to throw a bunch of 4 verticals. We can throw individual routes. We can throw any type of tags off of that. We can throw a screen, and we can run the ball. So during the drill work, quick game, routes on air, we'll go ahead and we'll go ahead and run the emphasis on the plays for that install day. But when we get to the team and skill periods, we're going to run just 4 verticals every play with tags, runs, and screens. So again, long answer to a short question about that second piece is basically we don't check it versus a scout team unless they're just totally, giving us something that's fouled up, or again, on the wristband, it'll have a couple different options. So he still has to select a proper play, but not, he's not going to just totally go rogue on us there. All right, Coach Strickland, can you go over the equation for play distribution in your script? Yeah, it's kind of, I think it's gonna be a little more, you got to decide on how particular for yourself on what's going to work the best. Okay. But, for us, again, it's, if there's a team that we think 20 personnel is the best set to run that game against them to get what we want in the pass game, in the run game, whatever it may be, that's what we'll be heavier on that for that week. So out of those 30 plays, you got to see how many formations you have, how many sets do you have of those 30 plays. Okay, so we got to divide that up. And then we have to divide up and make sure, again, just that the screens, runs, quick game, and drop back are kind of distributed without having, more than a couple of drop back passes in a row. You don't want to be a moving or a sitting duck back there. You want to have a moving target, and that quarterback can not be standing still, and they get a direct hit on the launch point there. So, it's a difficult question because it depends on what works for you guys best versus that opponent for that week. So again, one week you might be super heavy on 20 personnel. Another week you're higher on 10. So you might have more plays that made it in the game plan, 10 personnel. So again, just try and evenly distribute that through with your best plays kind of out of the gates, and then plays will set up other plays. But that's a little more of a per person scenario there. Okay. How many plays do you try and run during a tempo period? And we, our tempo all the time is just try and, get the ball, get lined up, get snapped, call a good play, get snapped, call a good play, get snapped. We're not super lightning fast. We do get a bunch of plays often in game. But like in a team period there, we want to get it snapped as soon as we get the play call. And as soon as the quarterback gets out, get to the line of scrimmage, our O-line, and our center is calling the protection, right? So we want to get him down, set, and calling the protection as fast as he can. Because then if they move, he's going to flip the protection, all right? He can change the protection. So that's why we're not super tempo, trying to just snap the ball without being fully prepared. We also want to see how the defense gets lined up so we can call the best play. But yeah, for the most part, I know our one-on-one period quarterback receivers, we always joke around about that because we always try and cut the time down because they'll throw 50, 60 balls per quarterback in a one-on-one period. So it's nothing for those guys to go out and practice and throw a couple hundred balls pretty easily. All right. Coach Schmidt said, when you run plays in practice with 4 quarterbacks, how close together do you position them that the timing is still okay? Yeah, so we have our quick game drill when there's 4 QBs in there. It's kind of like a 2-and-2 scenario, kind of 2 on each side, running a half field, play side read is what they're doing. So we're doing mirroring the route on both sides and 2 quarterbacks. So yeah, they're about they're a healthy yard apart from each other. And then we go to that routes on air period where you have 5 quarterbacks throwing. Same thing. They're about a yard apart from each other, but the timing wise, it goes by the reads. All right. So again, we don't talk a bunch of coverage. We talk more about our progression. All right. The read progression, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the ball should come out in that same order. So, if I have more access to my film, the film's back in film's in Mississippi right now. And I'm back out in Washington, but the ball would come out first guy first, second read second, third, fourth, fifth. And that's the way it should be. So it shouldn't be 5 guys thrown at the same time. So that's something you just kind of work on, and they'll start picking up on that pretty quick on how that drill's supposed to look. So that answers Coach Schmidt there. Let's see the next one. Blitz pickup every day, Coach Kelly, absolutely. Blitz pickup is every day, including our Friday practice. So that's a staple. That starts practice on Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday we do that after we run through our plays. Friday we do that kind of right after that 7-on-7 period I talked about. So that's a staple. That's a necessity. I'm going to start ripping through a bunch of these questions here because I'll run over time, which is fine, but let's keep going. How would you teach the running back to run an option route out of the backfield? All right, so basically cleanest release possible, all right? If he's in protection first, that's one thing that we game plan all the time about, Coach Miller and I talking about how do we get the back out in the pass game. We don't want him back there being an extra blocker every play. You want him spreading the field and making the defense have to defend all 5. So one step at the guy that he's blocking, that guy doesn't come, then he's out in his route. Best release through the line of scrimmage, okay? So he's pushing into the middle of the field. So it could be A gap, B gap, or even C if it gets clogged up, if there's a slant on or stunt or a game here where we can't get out clean. He gets over the top, and then he's going to leverage away from the nearest defender, okay, with a linebacker in this scenario. So there's a Mike linebacker, and he's pushing out to him, and he's flying high over the top. You stick a foot in the ground, and you push inside of him, okay? If he's sitting still and it's a zone defense, you run at him, you stick a foot at him, and you push away from the defender and work your way to the open space. So you're basically leveraging yourself away from the defender, leverage away from the coverage, but best release possible going through the line of scrimmage, okay? The easiest way that we discovered to send in plays, we have hand signals and we have a wristband, okay? So the hand signals, it's one of the things for, I think, a freshman coming in is one of the harder things for him is learning the whole different sign language there on getting the plays signaled out to everybody. But the wristband's always pretty easy, and we kind of have a little system there with our numbers where we give him a wristband call and he calls the play from there. But wristband or just the hand signals works well for both of us. All right. Okay. Does a lot of your open field plays fall into your situational slots for your play sheet? Yes and no. Okay, so some of those open field plays in the situational might have a tag on them, all right, because now they're doing something differently. On their third down defense, all of a sudden they're going to play hard corners or they're going to blitz on third down. So instead of having a guy running a vertical, all of a sudden he might be running a post because we know that they're going to vacate that space in front of him, and we want to get to that space sooner, all right? So he's going to break it off at 10 and head to the post. So I think that some of those plays do carry over if the team doesn't change, but for the most part, if their third down defense changes or their red zone changes, the goal line changes, then our plays are going to change too with them a little bit, all right, to make sure we have an answer for what they're doing. Okay. All right. How do we handle tempo? Do we have a change of pace plays or just leave it to the quarterback? Yeah, a lot of that's on the quarterback. The quarterback to understand, like, hey, if we hit a big play, we want to get lined up. We want to run the next play pretty quick. We'll just kind of tell him. We'll kind of tell him this is the point in the game where we feel like we want to start snapping a little bit faster and getting plays snapped. Or just kind of locking on a play and telling him not to check it. But it's something that might be a sideline adjustment, or just telling him as we see it, as it unfolds. And it's not something that we major in, but there are times for it, and we just kind of dictate that to the quarterback and let him know that, go ahead, let's go fast here. Let's get plays snapped, and they're not changing at all. This is what we're going to do. Is a mesh a staple of the air raid? It is. All right. So the mesh play is, the two most inside receivers are one sets a depth at 6 yards. The other guy's is gonna run right underneath of him. It's man coverage. They can see their buddy getting chased. They're gonna keep running. If there's zone defense, and they're gonna stop and sit in a hole once they cross each other over the center. It's a natural hot, all right, versus blitz. So those guys, when they take 2 steps, they see the backer inside them going. They're looking for the ball. The outside guys are running 10-yard speed outs. And then we have several different versions of of the mesh play, where those out routes could turn into post routes. We add a wheel with that, a post wheel concept with the back, and so on and so forth. But yeah, that's absolutely one of our staple plays there. Quick answer to the question somebody was asking about drawing up a Y cross at a 3x1. Just real quick, and fire back me if I didn't do it, but X has the vertical route. Okay, number 1 has a vertical route to the trip side, the 3 receiver side. Number 3 has the cross. All right, number 2 is going to run. Number 2 is going to run a post, and number 1 is going to run the post dig. All right, so the back's out in the flat to the same side of the trips. All right, so that's kind of what you're looking at there. But fire back at me if that doesn't answer your question. Okay, let me go on the next one here. How much of the gameplay sheet goes on the quarterback wristband? Does the wristband have a 1 high versus a 2 high check for a quarterback? The gameplay sheet goes on the quarterback. Yeah, there's a good bit of it. Yeah, so you don't have the third down plays on there. You have open field and red zone goal line. Third downs, we'll just call the plays on third downs and kind of signal those in. He's going to know, the pre-snap read with 1 high and 2 high gives him an idea of where you think the ball is going to go. But when the ball gets snapped, this is a Coach Leach staple. Reads are sacred. You got to go through your reads. You can't predetermine anything. Especially some of the teams that we play, all the different disguises they have, that type of thing. But one play, we love 4 verticals versus 1 high or 2 high. You'd have a good idea, especially in high school. If it's a 1 high team, you tell those 2 interior receivers, 2 inside guys to run vertical and have the outside guys drop out of their vertical routes. If there's 2 receivers, okay, I would say the opposite now. The outside guys run the verticals to try and get the safeties, have to cover them over the top, and the inside guys now have all that space in the middle of the field to curl it up and get open. All right. At halftime, can you add or change personnel groupings with open field? Yes. What we'll do is the easy fix is we don't like a certain formation anymore, so we'll just get out of that formation. If something worked and we don't have it on the script as much, we'll start calling that play a bit more, in the second half. So if they came out something completely different to our 20 personnel, and we loved it in that game, we're going to call more 20 personnel plays in the second half. That's the thing too. There's freedom in this offense where even though the script says what it says, by the time we get to week 6 of the season, we've had a spring ball, and then you go to fall camp, a 3-day install, and then second time around is 6 practices. It's the second time they've seen all those base plays. Then 9 practices, then 12, then 15. You don't play that first game until 24 practices in. So they've been through our base script 8 times per install day. So now it's nothing for them to say all of a sudden, hey, we're gonna call this play out of 20 personnel now instead. We'd like it better against these guys. They know what they're doing, but we just want to try and maximize our reps in practice against what we think we're going to get against them. How do you teach the mesh as a whole, or a front side, back side mesh? No, so yeah, we'll just teach the play as a whole. All right. So again, it's a man versus zone type of thing. There's a side you want to start on. So if there's an out route on the outside receiver that you like and have good leverage for it, go ahead and throw that guy. That's why you probably called that play or like that play, because of that leverage. Now, as soon as it's not there or it's taken away, you don't like to throw anymore, you come down to the mesh guy on your side that gets into your vision, and then you have the back. All right, you can also get to the second mesh receiver, but then you have the back on the same side. All right, and then if you don't like the leverage for the out route, that's when some of those tweaks and tags come into play. You can post the outside guy, and you can add a wheel to the back or to the next receiver. So again, it's got to be as a whole. We drill it quite a bit. That's that settle and loose drill in pre-practice. So it's something that you can definitely work on in pieces, but we teach it as a whole. Coach Lippert, did you fake the running back to get him the opposite flat on Y cross? We'll do that sometimes. For most part, we'll have him kind of step to the quarterback, whatever side he's on. So a lot of times for us, what takes care of the fake is just that flash fake when he goes across the quarterback's face. Or you just keep him on the same side, step towards the quarterback that you're getting it, look at your pass protection, and then just release back out into that flat. Open field section. Let me go ahead and share. Somebody's asking to share back the practice scripts. Let me just do that real quick. I think that's on there. That's the first. I think that's the first piece of that. Okay. All right. Next question here. Open field section is broke up conceptually. No, other than quick game drop back. All right. So I would say, yeah, we wouldn't have two of the same concepts back to back. We wouldn't do that. That would be a little bit of spacing between those two. Yeah. Good question. All right, during situational practice, are we going versus the scout D or the best on best? So obviously during the spring, a lot more heavy with the good on good, all right? During the season, like I said, during fall camp, there's a good on good for a good start of that camp until we get into probably like a week or so out from like our mock game week, because we'll actually practice what we'll do for a game week the week before. And we'll run through a Sunday practice, a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday practice, our Friday run through and everything. We'll go to the hotel. We'll do it all like a game week. And I think something we do is pretty good. On Thursday evenings too, we have Thursday night football. So the young guys go out in the stadium, full pads. We have a scrimmage out there, about 30, 40 play scrimmage with our guys that are, some of those guys might be borderline bus guys, about threes, maybe a couple of guys that are 2.5s in the rotation. But typically it's those young guys, those freshmen, those red shirts. So we have that. But during the situational practice, as you get to the season, 5 plays of 7-on-7, 5 plays of team. We'll do that. And then we'll get together with our scouts after that. So, you got to break those scouts in too. That's the only thing we do that seems in that mock week. The guys, you understand how the scouting, the look we need from them and to get us what we need out of our starters for, to be great against the opponent for that week. Is the running back a free release 92, or is he checking for blitz first? He's checking for blitz. Okay. So any of our drop back stuff, generally speaking, the back is going to be in protection first. Again, we try and really put an emphasis on figuring out who their top blitzer is. All right. Who is their, what are their best blitzes, their top blitzes, and being able to recognize that and then making sure that we block those guys with our bigs and we get our running back out. So we want to do that as much as possible, but he still has responsibilities. So he's going to step at his assignments, but he's going to release as soon as he reads, he reads it's not pressure, and nowadays we're getting so much add-on stuff. You have to read demeanor a little bit and be pretty savvy and be really good in the film room, going out into the field and understanding, hey, look, I stepped at my guy, he's looking at me. All right, I got to get out my route, because if I don't get out my route, he's going to come. Then I got to block him. All right, but if you step at him, he's running at the quarterback. That's a blitz. Go block him. So answer your question, yes. Any of those dropbacks, he is going to have protection for the most part. Zach asked, we carry more than one version of a play in the game plan. Example, empty 95 and 3x195. Yep, yeah, we will. 95 is, again, it's a good example to use because it is one of our top plays, and we'll have that in there probably 2 to 3 different ways. 95, and we'll have it in tweaks in the red zone and goal line. That's a play that's going to be all up and down our script. Coach Samuel, I heard Coach Leach gives a lot of freedom for the quarterbacks. Just show the formation in check. How does the game plan process work with that amount of freedom for the quarterback? Yeah, so it starts on that Sunday night practice when we line up our defense out there. The scout defense is out there, and we're just running plays. We don't give them any calls. Coach gives them a formation and tells them to check the play. So they're just looking with their eyes, kind of what they're taught in meetings and film and all through camp. Okay, hey, they're in a 4-down front. The backers are plussed out. The outside backers are plussed out on our number 2 receivers. There's only one linebacker in the middle of the field. He's going to check a run play. All right, the backer comes creeping in. He knows he can throw a screen out there because the DBs are playing off leverage. He goes ahead and throws a screen. They get pressed up. He wants to call a blitz beater. He's going to call a play that he knows he got some answers and some outs to it. He calls that play. So he gives them the freedom to do all of that. For the most part, though, coach always gives a play call or a suggestion, as he likes to say sometimes to the quarterbacks, because they're the last ones on the field. They get the last looks at it. And if they call a bad play, he jokes around, it's their fault because they can change it at any point. But for the most part, they'll check a good bit of plays, but it's not always formation check. That's just that would be an answer going back to some of our tempo question guys. For us, if you want to get a little more tempo going, just go formation check. He just gets lined up as fast as he can, gets those guys on the line of scrimmage and calls a play and then goes. So that's kind of the way that works. How would you plan to attack a heavy blitz man coverage defense? Yeah, same thing. You like routes that are layered up. All right, routes that are layered up, routes that have rubs, different levels of your reads, stuff that has natural hots in it. All right, and if they don't, if they hot it and they're not open, they just get back on their route. Going back to somebody asked about the mesh. Guy starts running his mesh route, hots it because the guy was going to blitz, but the end drops. So you only took 2 steps, and then just get right back on your landmark, on your path to run the mesh route. So really, it's just plays that you want to get the ball at the quarterback's hands quick. All right, so we might be a little more screen heavy that week versus a heavy blitz team. A little more screen heavy, a little more quick game heavy, but don't let that scare you out of attacking either. You're gonna get one-on-one matchups, and that's what you want. That's one for big plays and for touchdowns. Okay. What's the quarterback progression on 6, 4 verticals in a 2-by-2 formation? All right, versus 2 high. This is kind of a freedom question too, a little quarterback freedom question. All right. So he's looking for man or zone coverage, right? If he sees press coverage, he can start on either side of the field. He can start in field, he can start on the boundary, he can start with a press guy, he can start with an off guy, he can give a tag. But typically, you start on one side and then work your way down. So maybe it's a number 1 receiver to the 2 inside guy at a 2-by-2 and then down to the back, or maybe it's one receiver on the outside to the inside receiver on your side to the inside receiver on the other side and then down to the back. But you can't get from X to Z, right? You can't look all the way across and read all 4 different guys. So you're looking at 2 high safeties. I would say first thing, just on paper or generally speaking would be, I'm peeking at number 1 to see if he can win a vertical over the top of the corner before the safety gets there. If not, that number 2 receiver is going to curl up. All right, and you're going to have him, and then he's not open. Then you're going to have your back on that side. So that's kind of the way we would look at it. But again, there's freedom for the quarterback to see leverage, to see where the hole in the defense is. And if he likes to, hey, I'm going to tag a slant. Go ahead and tag a slant, or stop route, or come back, whatever. So progression is out, front side mesh, back is hot. So let's see, out, front side mesh would actually it's kind of your natural hot. All right, so this is going back to somebody asked about 92 here. So yeah, throw the out route if you have leverage. If for some reason you don't like that, the mesh guy coming to you is your next guy. Both mesh routes will hot it if both backers blitz, and then the back goes out to the flat. And now you can actually move the back around whatever side you want to start on. So if it's mirrored, like it's a 2-by-2 mesh, you can put the back to either side you want, the field, the boundary, or the side you're starting on. So you have another option there. How much time do you spend with the running backs on run game skills, pass game skills, blocking, etc.? Yeah, so run game is big. We heavy pre-practice. Okay, we'll work some footwork stuff. We'll do the run checks in pre-practice with the O-line. We'll do a drill, footwork drill, at least twice a week during the practice week. So like about a half a period. So 2 5-minute periods of that. The pass pro stuff is probably more than the pass game because we have so many balls getting thrown outside of practice anyway. Quick game routes on air, even in the course of team 7-on-7. But the blocking piece, we'll probably get at least 2 5-minute periods of that as well. So we'll use the sleds. We'll use each other. We have progression for that, but probably about 4 different periods we'll have of like indie work, in a given week. And then we'll actually steal some time too with the O-line. We'll do an inside run versus the scouts too. So we have inside run versus the defense, and then we'll do an inside run on the next day versus scout looks. So we get another period where we get to hit that with the whole unit out there. Okay. Favorite run concepts against a 3-3 stack. We see a ton of 3-3 in high school ball these days. Yeah. So, the thing about the 3-3 is everybody's big on inside zone nowadays, and that's one of our top plays as well. What you want to do now is your inside zone is going to turn more into that mid zone. All right. So if you get a guy that's in a 4-eye or a 4 technique instead of a 5 technique, we're going to pin that guy down with the tackle. All right. And the guard and tackle will double team him. And instead of the guard climbing to the backer, the tackle now climbs to the backer. So the back's just got to see that, see what front we're playing against that week and understand that it's not going to hit up inside there. It's going to be more of that midline. And then you need your inside receiver to make sure he covers up that apex player. And then you got to read off of that block. So it's going to hit more on the edge. It just turns naturally into a little more of an edge play for us. But, and then obviously if you want to run any of the, the pin and pull stuff, I think that's good as well. All right. So you can, the tackle's blocking down on him, and you get the backside tackle wrapping around for that outside backer, meeting him in the hole somewhere. This should be a B gap play, that one back power. So that would be another kind of just variation now. So they both look like zone except for, one guy differently. But yeah.
Coach, you are welcome to keep going and keep answering questions, but if you have to run, you've been going for a while. It's up to you.
Let me go 5 more minutes. I'm going to throw another slide up here. There's people asking for some contact info, but you can go 5 more minutes.
Perfect.
Okay. Let me go ahead and share my contact slide. I think that's on there. All right, let me get to the next couple questions. Okay, draw to our RBs, Coach Samuel. You got to sell pass protection first. All right, so he's got to step up towards the line of scrimmage. His steps may not be as big as it would in actual pass protection, but he's going to step up towards the line of scrimmage and slightly towards the quarterback. We put a good bit of this on the quarterback for getting the ball to the running back in this play because his eyes aren't in great position to see it, and he's going to have to he's got to feel it out a little bit. But he's going to read the block of the center where he's going to insert. Center's going to take him whichever way he wants to go. Then we're up the field. But really, whatever he does in pass pro, you want to mimic that as closely as possible to make sure that you don't tip it off and you're not guilty and get busted, on the draw play there. But, tackles, one thing about the tackles is go ahead and pass set those guys first initially because, again, you have going back to the 3-3 guy, you get a lot of that the apex guys are reading the tackle. So if they read run, they read that draw, they're locking on there, they're going to come flying up, and all of a sudden the 3-man front turns into a 5-man front. So you want those apex guys dropping. So go ahead and set high hats with the tackles and then have them release up the field. This way you get a little more, you get those guys going ahead and spot dropping the outside backers, and that's helpful. Coach Agresta, my guy. How many protections do you have in a game plan per week? Stay safe too, brother. Good hearing from you, man. Yeah, we go into a game plan with 2 or 3 protections, and it's the same thing kind of as our offense goes. Well, we have our whole gamut of protections, which for us is less than most. It's 5 or 6. But really, in a particular week, we know what teams are going to do, what they're going to line up in, what their top blitzes are, what we think are going to be our best protections for that week. And then we have our little cheat code up top in the box that says, hey, they're coming out in this front. What's our best protection call versus this front? And again, we'll just switch to protection kind of on the fly. But for the most part, 2 or 3 should typically handle most of what we're going to see versus that opponent. Do you teach all benders on four verts or allow the quarterback to throw them into the bender area? Everybody has a landmark, Coach Banks there. All right. So everybody's got a landmark. The inside guys are getting to the hashes. So if it's 3x1, he's got to get to the opposite hash. And then again, the inside guys have the freedom to at 10 yards, they're going to sit or they're going to run, okay, based on the defense. So if they come to a hole at 10, they're going to sit, okay? If there's man, the guy's running with you and you can get over the top, keep rolling, all right? On the outside, they'll drop out of their routes. They'll drop out of their routes about 13 yards, 15 yards downfield based on the coverage there as well. So there's a lot of freedom on all four of those guys. The quarterback just knows he's kind of looking for where the space is at as well, and those guys get on the same page. And that's why we have a four vertical day, so everybody's on the same page as far as that goes. If you're completing 50% of your four verticals over the course of the season, that's a heck of a play for you because it's usually big money. And we've been doing that pretty consistently the last several years. Okay, a couple more. QB Indy drills. Yeah, I mean, just, big ones. So we have a bucket drill for our goal line fades that our quarterbacks have lots of fun with, where they're catching snaps out of the gun and just not even taking a drop, so they're just there and getting the ball out of their hands, a lot of air, hitting that back pylon. So we have a garbage can set up there. And they're just trying to drop them in a bucket. We've got our shuffle drill. We're just basically working pocket presence. That's one thing we look for when we recruit the quarterbacks is not necessarily have to be a runner. And we're not opposed to runners either, but a guy that can just buy time in the pocket, move around, get himself some space. So that's a big one for us. Circle drill, just kind of getting guys' hips around and finishing at his target and kind of moving around the run and throwing from different angles. But again, if you can find that, Kentucky deal on the line, it's pretty good. Coach Schmidt, you only get 3 dropbacks, 3 quicks, 3 screens, 3 runs. What are your choices? Well, that's about our whole menu there, Coach. Drop back wise, obviously, I would say, Y cross, mesh, and third one would probably be our kind of smash corner with a delayed route. You can either have a back run the seam, you could have an outside guy run a hitch and go. But those are the 3 big drop backs. Quick game would be the stick route, corner, Y corner with a slant from the outside guy and back in the flat. And then, just the traditional 10-yard downfield cross route, the scissors route. Guys are just going in and changing responsibilities there. Screens, any of those perimeter screens to the outside guys. Any of those quick screens to the backs where you're blocking for them. Love those. And then run-wise, inside zone is probably our top one. And then basically, we got our gap scheme, with a shade nose. We're blocking down and wrapping guards, and it turns into that, the more we discussed earlier, that power where we're pulling the tackle instead. All right. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for the time, man. Everybody stay safe out there.
Coach, thank you very much for taking the time. We really appreciate it. I'm sure these guys could have gone on all day asking you questions. So really appreciate it again. Guys, if you want to get in contact with him, you got his information right there. And thank you very much, Coach. Wish you luck this season.
I appreciate it. Thanks.